Captain Jake Sullivan walked into the biggest room he had ever seen. The walls went up so high that he could not see the top. Strange lights floated in the air like small suns. Around him sat creatures that looked like they came from his worst dreams and best fantasies. Some looked like giant insects with too many legs. Others were made of what seemed like living crystal that sparkled in the light. A few looked almost human but had blue skin and 3 eyes. One group appeared to be made of pure energy, shifting and glowing as they moved. This was the Galactic Council. Every important alien race in the galaxy sent someone here. Today they would decide if humans could join their club. Jake wore his best military uniform. The blue fabric was clean and pressed. His medals shone on his chest. Behind him stood 3 other humans. Dr. Lisa Martinez carried a small black box. Inside were recordings of human music from all over Earth. Admiral Ross Peters kept checking his watch. He looked worried about something. The 4th human, scientist Dr. Alan Carter, held a tablet with information about Earth. "Welcome, humans," said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We have read your request to join the Interstellar Alliance. Today you will show us why your species deserves to be part of our community." Jake stepped forward. His heart beat fast, but he kept his voice steady. "Thank you for this chance. We believe humans can add something special to your alliance." A creature that looked like a walking tree with silver bark laughed. The sound was like wind through metal leaves. "Something special? What could a young species like yours possibly offer us?" Dr. Martinez opened her black box. She pulled out a small device no bigger than her hand. "We brought examples of our greatest art form, music. It shows how humans express feelings and ideas through sound." She pressed a button. The room filled with the sound of a piano. The music was soft and beautiful. It was a piece by a human composer named Chopin. The notes danced in the air like invisible butterflies. The aliens looked at each other. Some made sounds that might have been talking. Others flashed lights from their bodies. Then something happened that made Jake's stomach drop. They started laughing. A creature that looked like a giant sea star with a mouth in the center spoke first. "This is what you call art? These random noises?" A tall being made of purple crystal joined in. "We have studied your music files. There is no logic to these sounds, no mathematical precision. How can you call this art when it follows no rules?" The laughter grew louder. More aliens joined in. Some made chirping sounds. Others hummed low notes that hurt Jake's ears. A few flashed bright colors that probably meant they found something funny. Dr. Martinez tried to explain. "Music is not just about rules. It's about emotion. It's about bringing people together. When humans hear music, it makes them feel things. Happy, sad, excited, peaceful. Emotion," repeated a bug-like creature with 6 arms. "How primitive. Art should be based on science and mathematics. Your sounds have no quantum resonance. They do not follow harmonic equations. They are just noise." Jake felt his face get hot. These aliens were treating human music like it was garbage. "Maybe you need to listen more carefully," he said. "Our music has patterns. It has meaning." A floating ball of light pulsed as it spoke. "We have machines that can analyze any sound pattern in the universe. Your music creates no useful vibrations. It serves no purpose except to make random noise in the air." Admiral Peters leaned close to Jake's ear. "Sir, we're getting reports from the outer colonies. The Void Hunters attacked 3 more worlds. We need these allies." Jake knew what that meant. The Void Hunters were an ancient race of machines. They destroyed everything in their path. Earth's small fleet of ships could not fight them alone. Without help from the Galactic Alliance, humanity might not survive the next year. "Please," Jake said to the room full of aliens. "Give us a chance. Judge us by more than just our music." The crystal being who seemed to be in charge made a sound like breaking glass. "Your music reveals the primitive nature of your minds. If you cannot create proper art, how can you contribute to galactic civilization? Your application is denied." The word "denied" hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. All around the room, aliens were still laughing and making jokes about human music. Some were playing recordings of Earth songs and adding their own terrible sounds on top, making the music sound even worse. Dr. Martinez looked like she might cry. She had spent years preparing the music collection. She believed it would show aliens how wonderful humans could be. Instead, it had become a joke. "The decision is final," announced the Crystal Leader. "Humans are not ready to join the Interstellar Alliance. Perhaps in a few thousand years, when your species develops real culture, you can apply again." As the human group walked toward the exit, Jake heard aliens still laughing behind them. Some were making jokes about the noisy humans and the species that thinks random sounds are art. Dr. Martinez was putting her music device back in the black box when she noticed something. The device was still recording. It had been picking up all the alien voices and sounds during the meeting. Without thinking much about it, she left the recording running and closed the box. The four humans left the council chamber in silence. Their ship waited outside to take them back to Earth. As they walked through the long hallways, Jake could still hear alien laughter echoing behind them. "What do we tell Earth?" asked Dr. Carter. "We tell them the truth," Jake replied. "We tell them that we're on our own." None of them knew that the small recording device in Dr. Martinez's box was still sending signals back to Earth. Every alien voice, every strange sound, every piece of laughter was being stored in humanity's computers, and none of them could imagine that this rejected music would soon become the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. Dr. Kevin Brooks worked in a secret lab deep under a mountain in Colorado. The lab was so far underground that he sometimes forgot what sunlight looked like. He spent his days studying alien signals that came from space. His job was to figure out how alien races talk to each other. Kevin had dark hair that was always messy because he ran his hands through it when he was thinking hard. He wore thick glasses, and his lab coat had coffee stains on it. He had been working on the same problem for 6 months and was getting frustrated. The problem was alien communication frequencies. Every alien race used different types of signals to talk across space. Some used radio waves, others used light patterns. A few used something called quantum pulses that Kevin barely understood. "Still trying to crack the Zephyrian codes?" asked Dr. Amy Foster as she walked into his lab. Amy was Kevin's research partner. She was tall with red hair tied back in a ponytail. She was much better at math than Kevin, but he was better at hearing patterns and sounds. Together they made a good team. "I think I'm close," Kevin said, pointing at the big computer screen in front of him. "Look at these wave patterns. The Zephyrians use 7 different frequency levels at the same time. But there's something weird about the way they combine them." Kevin had been trying to understand alien communication ever since the failed mission to the Galactic Council. Earth needed to learn how to talk to aliens better. Maybe if humans could speak their languages properly, the aliens would take them more seriously. "Have you tried running the frequencies through the quantum resonance chamber?" Amy asked. Kevin shook his head. "Not yet. Let me set that up." The quantum resonance chamber was a new machine that could analyze how sound waves affected space and time. It was built using technology that humans had stolen from a crashed alien ship years ago. Most scientists still did not understand how it worked. Kevin started typing commands into his computer. He loaded the Zephyrian communication signals into the quantum chamber. The machine hummed to life. Lights flashed as it began analyzing the alien sounds. But Kevin made a mistake. Instead of loading just the alien signals, he accidentally included some files from Earth. Mixed in with the Zephyrian frequencies were recordings of human music that Dr. Martinez had brought back from the Galactic Council meeting. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The quantum chamber processed the signals like it always did. Then something strange appeared on Kevin's computer screen. "Amy, come look at this," Kevin called out. Amy hurried over to his workstation. On the screen were shapes that should not exist. The quantum chamber was showing patterns in space and time that looked like impossible geometric forms. "That's a spiral that goes through 4 dimensions," Amy whispered, staring at the display. "And that one looks like a cube that's inside itself. How is this possible?" Kevin checked his data. "I think I mixed human music in with the alien signals by accident. Let me separate them and see what happens. He isolated the human music files and ran them through the quantum chamber by themselves. The results made both scientists step back from the computer. The human music was creating structures in the fabric of space. A simple piano song made spiral patterns that bent reality in small ways. A rock guitar solo created jagged lines that looked like cracks in empty space. A classical symphony built complex towers of twisted space-time. This can't be right, Amy said. Music is just sound waves moving through air. It can't affect space itself. Kevin played more music through the machine. A jazz trumpet solo created spinning circles of warped gravity. A country singer's voice made straight lines that cut through dimensions like invisible swords. An electronic dance song built cubes and pyramids out of pure energy. What happens if I combine different types of music? Kevin wondered out loud. He loaded 3 songs at the same time. A violin piece, a drum solo, and someone singing opera. When the quantum chamber processed all 3 together, something incredible happened. The lab itself began to change. The air seemed to shimmer like heat waves. The metal walls started to vibrate in rhythm with the music. A coffee cup on Kevin's desk began floating in the air. "Turn it off," Amy shouted. Kevin quickly stopped the machine. The coffee cup fell back to the desk. The wall stopped vibrating. But both scientists knew they had discovered something that would change everything. "We need to call General Hayes," Amy said. General Patricia Hayes ran the entire NORAD facility. She was a tough woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. When Kevin and Amy explained what they had found, she came down to the lab immediately. "Show me," General Hayes said. Kevin played a simple folk song through the quantum chamber. On the computer screen, gentle curves appeared in space-time. The song was creating small changes in gravity and electromagnetic fields. "Now watch this," Kevin said. He played a heavy metal song. The screen filled with aggressive, jagged patterns. The metal chair next to the machine began to change color. "The chair is getting hot," Amy reported, checking it with a temperature scanner. "The music is somehow affecting the molecular structure of the metal." General Hayes watched in silence as Kevin demonstrated more examples. A children's lullaby made the air in the room feel calm and peaceful. A marching band song created ordered mathematical patterns. A rock and roll guitar solo made small lightning bolts appear between Kevin's fingers. "Dr. Brooks," General Hayes said finally, "how long have humans been making music?" "As long as there have been humans," Kevin replied. "Maybe longer. Even ancient cave paintings show people singing and dancing. And the aliens think our music is primitive noise?" That's what they said in the council meeting. General Hayes was quiet for a long time. She walked around the lab looking at the quantum chamber and the computer screens full of impossible data. "I'm putting this lab under the highest security level," she said. "No one talks about this discovery. No one leaves this facility. And I want every type of human music tested through that machine." Over the next few weeks, Kevin and Amy worked with a team of new scientists and musicians. They tested everything: classical music from Europe, folk songs from Africa, pop music from America, traditional chants from Asia, electronic music made on computers. Every single type of human music created effects in the quantum chamber. Some were gentle and beautiful. Others were powerful and dangerous. A few were so complex that the computer could not analyze them. "It's like humans have been doing advanced physics for thousands of years without knowing it," Amy said one evening as they reviewed test results. "Every culture, every time period," Kevin agreed. "Rock music, country music, rap, blues, jazz. Even when humans just hum while they work, they're manipulating quantum fields." The biggest surprise came when they tested human voices without any instruments. A person singing alone, with no music playing, could create effects that were stronger than any alien technology they had seen. "We need to tell Earth's leaders about this," Kevin said. But General Hayes had bigger plans. Reports were coming in from space that the Void Hunters were moving faster than expected. They had destroyed 5 more worlds and were heading toward the inner part of the galaxy. "We're not just going to tell them," General Hayes said. "We're going to show them what human music can really do." She authorized a new project that would change the course of galactic history. They were going to turn human music into a weapon. Project Harmony started in a secret base in the Nevada desert. The base was so hidden that it did not appear on any map. Inside the underground facility, the strangest team in human history worked day and night. Scientists worked next to rock, stars. Military engineers shared lab space with opera singers. Computer programmers collaborated with jazz musicians. Dr. Lisa Martinez led the project. She had returned from the failed alien meeting with a new fire in her eyes. She was determined to prove that human music was not the joke the aliens thought it was. Listen carefully, Dr. Martinez told the assembled team on their first day. We have learned something incredible. Human music can change the laws of physics. Every song, every melody, every beat can affect reality in ways we never imagined. The main lab was huge. It had quantum resonance chambers along every wall. Screens showed wave patterns and energy readings. In the center of the room stood a platform where musicians could perform, while scientists measured what their music did to space and time. Captain Ryan Mitchell was the military leader of the project. He was a former fighter pilot with short brown hair and serious eyes. He had volunteered for the most dangerous test flights in the Air Force. Now he was volunteering for something even more dangerous. Our job is to turn music into weapons, Captain Mitchell explained to his military team. Not to hurt people, but to protect Earth from the void hunters. The first tests were simple. A violin player named Susan Wright stood on the platform and played a slow, sad song. The quantum chambers measured the effects. The music created small areas where gravity was different. Objects near the platform became lighter or heavier depending on which notes she played. Try something faster, suggested Dr. Kevin Brooks, who had been brought in from Colorado. Susan played a quick, happy dance tune. This time the effects were stronger. The air around her began to shimmer. Small sparks of electricity jumped between her fingers and the violin strings. Remarkable, said Dr. Amy Foster, reading the data. The faster music creates more energy disturbance, and the emotional content seems to affect the type of disturbance. A rock musician named Tony Garcia tried. Next, he plugged his electric guitar into an amplifier and played a heavy metal song. The quantum effects were incredible. The platform shook. The air filled with crackling energy. A steel beam near the wall began to bend and twist. Stop, Dr. Martinez called out. We don't want to damage the lab. But Tony had proven something important. Loud, aggressive music could create physical force that could damage solid objects. Over the following weeks, the team tested every type of music they could think of. A country singer made the air temperature change with her voice. A hip-hop artist created rhythmic pulses of electromagnetic energy. A classical orchestra playing together generated a field that could stop bullets in midair. The breakthrough came when Dr. Carlos Rivera, a scientist who was also a trained opera singer, volunteered for a special test. Carlos was short and round with a big voice that could fill any room. I want to try singing without any instruments, Carlos said. Just my voice in the quantum chamber. Dr. Martinez was hesitant. We don't know what will happen. It could be dangerous. Everything we're doing is dangerous, Carlos replied. But if we're right about human music, then the human voice should be the most powerful instrument of all. Carlos stood on the platform and began to sing. His voice was deep and rich. He sang an old Spanish folk song that his grandmother had taught him when he was a child. The quantum chamber went crazy. Energy readings shot off the scale. The air around Carlos began to glow with soft light. And then something happened that made everyone in the lab stop breathing. Carlos rose off the platform. He was floating in the air, held up by nothing but his own voice. The quantum fields are reacting to his vocal cords, Dr. Brooks whispered, staring at his instruments. He's creating anti-gravity just by singing. When Carlos finished the song, he slowly floated back down to the platform. He was smiling, but looked exhausted. That felt amazing, he said. I could feel the air itself responding to my voice. The team quickly organized more tests with singers. They brought in vocalists from every style of music. An opera singer could create force fields. A gospel singer could generate healing energy that actually repaired damaged equipment. A death metal screamer could tear holes in steel plates just with his voice. "We are biological quantum instruments," Dr. Rivera announced to the team after a week of voice tests. "Every human throat is connected to the basic forces of the universe." Captain Mitchell realized the military possibilities immediately. If we can train singers to control these effects, we can create weapons that don't need any technology. A person could defend themselves with nothing but a song. The next phase of testing involved combining different types of music. When a rock band played while an opera singer performed, the effects multiplied. When a jazz quartet improvised while a rapper performed, the quantum disturbances became unpredictable and powerful. The most impressive test came when they assembled a full orchestra, a rock band, a gospel choir, and several solo singers all performing at the same time. The combined music created effects so complex that the computers could not measure them all. "Look at this," Dr. Foster said, pointing at her screens. "The combined music is creating stable tiers in space-time. We could use this to travel faster than light, or to create barriers that nothing can pass through, or to destroy enemy ships," Captain Mitchell added quietly. The team began building their first weapons. They started small, a handheld device that could play recorded music and focus its quantum effects into a beam, a larger version that could be mounted on a spacecraft. Eventually, they designed systems that could amplify live human performances and broadcast them across vast distances. The first test of a music weapon took place in the desert outside the base. The target was an old tank that the military no longer needed. Dr. Martinez stood a mile away with a device that looked like a small radio. She pressed play. The device broadcast a recording of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. The music was amplified through quantum resonance chambers and focused into a tight beam aimed at the tank. The tank began to change. Its metal shell rippled like water. The massive vehicle started to fold in on itself. Within minutes, the tank had been compressed into a ball of metal no bigger than a basketball. The music altered the atomic structure of the steel, Dr. Brooks explained. It convinced the molecules to arrange themselves differently. Captain Mitchell was amazed. A song just destroyed a tank. No explosives, no heat, no damage to anything else around it. The team quickly built larger versions of the weapon. They designed systems that could be installed on Earth's small fleet of spaceships. But they also created something else. They built amplification systems that could take live human performances and broadcast them across the entire solar system. "If we're going to fight the Void Hunters," Dr. Martinez said, "we need every human to be part of the battle, not just our military, but every person who can sing, every child who can hum, every musician on every world." The plan was ambitious and dangerous. When the Void Hunters arrived, humanity would respond not with traditional weapons, but with the greatest concert in history. Every human settlement would participate. Every space station would join in. Billions of people would sing together, their combined voices amplified by quantum technology and focused on the enemy. "The aliens laughed at our music," Captain Mitchell said as they prepared for the final tests. "Let's see if they're still laughing when our songs tear their ships apart." News arrived that the Void Hunters had destroyed 2 more alien worlds and were moving toward Earth faster than expected. They would arrive in less than 6 months. Project Harmony had to be ready. Dr. Martinez looked at her team of scientists and musicians. "We have one chance to prove that human music is the most powerful force in the galaxy. Let's make sure we get it right." The Void Hunters arrived on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Scott Williams was drinking coffee in his command center when the alarms started screaming. On the main screen, dark shapes appeared at the edge of the solar system. The enemy fleet was massive. 200 ships, each one the size of a small city. "All ships battle stations," Admiral Williams announced over the communication system. "This is what we trained for." Admiral Williams was 50 years old with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought in 3 different wars, but nothing had prepared him for this. Earth's entire defense fleet was only 12 ships. Against 200 Void Hunter vessels, the odds were impossible. But Earth's ships were different now. Each one carried the new harmonic resonance weapons. The weapons looked like large speakers mounted on the outside of the ships. Inside each vessel, teams of musicians waited at their instruments. Captain Linda Washington commanded the USS Chicago. She was young for a ship captain, only 35, but she had volunteered for the most dangerous assignment. Her ship carried the largest music system and a full crew of performers. "Captain Washington," came Admiral Williams's voice over the radio. "Your ship will lead the first wave. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to prove that humanity deserves to survive." Linda looked around her ship's bridge. Next to the usual crew of pilots and engineers sat musicians with their instruments ready. Marcus Bell, a former jazz singer, stood at the communications station with a microphone in his hand. Sarah Lopez held her violin. Tony Garcia had his electric guitar plugged into the ship's power system. "All musicians, prepare for performance," Linda announced. "Earth is counting on us." The Void Hunter ships moved into the solar system like a dark cloud. Their vessels were black and geometric with sharp angles that hurt to look at. They had destroyed civilizations across the galaxy for thousands of years. No one had ever defeated them. "Enemy ships are charging their weapons," reported Lieutenant Dan Foster from his sensor station. "They're targeting Earth's major cities." "Not today," Admiral Williams said. "All ships, begin the Symphony Protocol." The USS Manhattan, Admiral Williams's command ship, fired first. But instead of missiles or energy beams, it broadcast music. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony played through the ship's quantum resonance chambers and shot across space toward the enemy fleet. The Void Hunter ships were ready for any kind of weapon. Their shields could stop nuclear explosions. Their armor could survive black hole gravity. But they were not ready for music. When Beethoven's symphony hit the lead Void Hunter ship, something impossible happened. The ship's black metal hull began to ripple like water. The geometric patterns on its surface started to change. Within minutes, the massive warship simply fell apart, its pieces floating away in all directions. "Direct hit!" shouted Lieutenant Foster. One enemy ship destroyed, but the Void Hunters adapted quickly. Their remaining ships spread out and began firing back. Beams of dark energy shot toward the human fleet. These weapons could tear holes in planets. They could turn entire moons into dust. The USS Chicago was directly in the path of one of these beams. Captain Washington watched the energy weapon approach her ship. It would hit them in seconds. "All crew, prepare for impact," she announced. But Marcus Bell, the jazz singer at the communications station, had a different idea. He grabbed his microphone and began to sing. Not a prepared song, but an improvised melody that came straight from his heart. His voice was deep and powerful, filled with all his fear and hope and love for humanity. Something amazing happened. Marcus's voice, amplified by the ship's systems, created a barrier of twisted space around the USS Chicago. When the Void Hunter's energy beam hit this barrier, it bounced off like a ball hitting a wall. "The attack was deflected," Lieutenant Foster reported in amazement. The singer's voice created a defensive field. Captain Washington realized they had discovered something new. "All musicians, forget the prepared songs. Perform from your hearts. Let your emotions guide the music." Sarah Lopez began playing her violin. The melody was sad and beautiful, inspired by memories of Earth's forests and rivers. Her music reached across space and began affecting the Void Hunter ships in unexpected ways. Their black hulls started to turn green and blue, as if they were remembering what it was like to be part of living worlds. Tony Garcia joined in with his electric guitar. His rock music was angry and defiant, expressing humanity's refusal to surrender. The aggressive notes created waves of force that pushed enemy ships off course and disrupted their formation. Other human ships joined the battle. Each one played different music. The USS Denver broadcasted country music that created stable gravitational fields. The USS Phoenix played classical compositions that formed geometric shields around the human fleet. The USS Seattle used electronic dance music to jam the Void Hunters' communication systems. But the real turning point came when Dr. Martinez, aboard Admiral Williams' command ship, activated the Global Symphony Protocol. This was the plan they had prepared for months. Every human settlement in the solar system would join the battle through music. All stations, all colonies, all human settlements, Dr. Martinez announced across the solar system's communication. Network. Begin the global symphony. Every person who can sing, every musician who can play, every child who can hum a tune. Join us now. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On Earth, billions of people began to sing. In cities and small towns, in schools and hospitals, in homes and offices, humans raised their voices together. The International Space Station played orchestral music. Mars Colony performed folk songs. The asteroid mining stations contributed heavy metal and rock music. But it wasn't just recorded music or professional performers. Regular people sang lullabies their parents had taught them. Children hummed cartoon theme songs. Teenagers played guitar in their bedrooms. Grandparents sang old songs from their youth. All of this music, from every corner of human civilization, was collected by quantum amplifiers and broadcast toward the Void Hunter fleet. The effect was beyond anything the scientists had predicted. The combined music of billions of humans created a wave of quantum energy that washed over the enemy's ships like a tsunami. The Void Hunters' advanced technology, which had seemed invincible, for millennia began to fail in ways that made no sense. Their ships didn't explode or burn. Instead, they began to transform. The black metal turned into crystal. The sharp geometric shapes became smooth and curved. The weapons that could destroy planets became harmless sculptures that drifted through space. Their molecular structure is changing, reported Dr. Brooks from his science station. The music is rewriting the basic laws that hold their ships together. Some Void Hunter vessels tried to retreat, but human music followed them across the galaxy. A simple children's song sung by a classroom on Mars reached across impossible distances and convinced enemy ships to simply stop working. Admiral Williams watched his tactical display as 200 Void Hunter ships became 200 pieces of beautiful space art. The greatest threat the galaxy had ever known had been defeated not by superior weapons or better technology, but by humanity's ability to make music together. All ships cease fire, Admiral Williams announced. The battle is over, we won. Across the solar system, billions of humans continued singing. They sang songs of victory and relief. They sang songs of hope for the future. They sang because they were alive and free and part of something bigger than themselves. Captain Washington looked around her bridge at her crew of musicians. Marcus Bell was still singing softly into his microphone. Sarah Lopez played gentle notes on her violin. Tony Garcia strummed quiet chords on his guitar. Good work, everyone, Linda said. I think we just proved that human music is the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. The news of humanity's victory spread quickly. Alien civilizations that had watched the battle from a safe distance were amazed and terrified. The species that had been rejected from the Galactic Council had just done something impossible. They had turned the simple act of making music into the greatest military victory in galactic history. 3 days after the Void Hunter defeat, alien ships began arriving at Earth. But these were not warships. They were diplomatic vessels carrying flags of peace and surrender. The same aliens who had laughed at human music now approached Earth, with fear and respect. President Helen Carter stood in the Oval Office, looking out the window at the strange ships hovering above Washington, D.C. She was a tall woman with kind eyes and silver hair. She had been president for 2 years, but nothing in her political career had prepared her for this moment. Madam President, said her chief of staff, the Galactic Council is requesting an emergency meeting. They want to come to Earth this time. How many of them? President Carter asked. All of them. Every major alien species in the galaxy wants to talk to us. President Carter smiled. Set up the meeting, but this time we do it on our terms. The meeting took place in New York City's Central Park. Earth's leaders wanted the aliens to see humanity in their natural environment, surrounded by trees and music and life. A stage was built in the middle of the park, where human musicians could perform during the negotiations. Ambassador Veltar, the crystal being who had mocked human music at the first meeting, now walked carefully across the grass like he was afraid to make any sudden movements. His crystalline body, which had seemed so proud and confident before, now looked dim and nervous. President Carter, Veltar said through his translation device, we have come to apologize. We have made a terrible mistake about your species. Sitting across from the alien delegation, President Carter remained calm and polite. "What kind of mistake?" "We did not understand the true nature of your music," said the bug-like creature who had called human songs primitive noise. "Our scientists have analyzed your victory over the Void Hunters. The mathematical complexity of your sonic manipulations exceeds our greatest theoretical frameworks." Dr. Martinez, now serving as Earth's chief scientific advisor, smiled as she presented her latest research. "Perhaps you would like to see what we've learned about music since our last meeting." She gestured to a group of human children sitting on the grass nearby. "Children, would you please sing something for our visitors?" The children, all around 8 years old, began singing a simple song about friendship. Their voices were clear and innocent. To human ears it was just a pretty children's song, but the aliens reacted like they were witnessing a miracle. Their various forms of measurement devices began flashing and beeping wildly. The floating energy beings grew brighter. The crystal creatures resonated with musical tones. "Impossible," whispered the tree-like alien. "Those young voices are creating stable quantum harmonics that our greatest scientists cannot achieve." Dr. Martinez nodded. "Every human child can do this naturally. We don't teach them quantum physics, we just teach them to sing." The alien delegation looked at each other with what might have been panic. If human children could manipulate reality with simple songs, what could trained adult musicians do? "We would like to request," said Ambassador Veltar carefully, "that humanity reconsider joining the Galactic Alliance. But perhaps this time you could be the senior partners in the arrangement." President Carter exchanged glances with Admiral Williams, who had been promoted to Secretary of Defense after the victory. "That's an interesting offer, but we have some conditions." Over the following hours, the terms of humanity's membership in the Galactic Alliance were negotiated. But the conversation revealed something even more important than political agreements. Dr. Martinez presented her team's latest discovery. "We have tested human music on volunteers from 17 different alien species. The results are remarkable." She played a recording of a simple human lullaby. On the screen, brain scans showed the effects on alien nervous systems. Every species we tested showed the same response. Anxiety decreased, problem-solving abilities increased, aggressive tendencies reduced, depression symptoms eliminated. "Are you saying," asked the floating energy being, "that human music is a form of universal medicine?" "More than that," Dr. Martinez replied. "We believe human music naturally harmonizes with the quantum patterns that underlie all consciousness in the galaxy." The implications were staggering. As word of this discovery spread, alien civilizations began requesting not military protection from humanity, but cultural exchange programs. Species that had been at war for centuries wanted to attend human concerts together. Captain Jake Sullivan, now promoted to admiral and serving as Earth's chief diplomatic officer, found himself in the strange position of being the most popular human in the galaxy. "We're getting requests from thousands of worlds," Jake reported to President Carter. "They don't want our technology or our weapons. They want our musicians." The first interspecies music festival was held on a neutral space station between Earth and the Galactic Center. Humans performed everything from classical symphonies to rock concerts to folk songs. Aliens came from across the galaxy to listen. The festival lasted for 3 weeks. By the end, something remarkable had happened. Ancient enemies sat together during concerts. Warlike species began signing peace treaties after listening to human children's choirs. Trade disputes were resolved during jazz performances. Admiral Jake Sullivan stood on the observation deck of the space station, watching aliens and humans dancing together to a country music band. "Dr. Martinez, I have to ask you something. Did we really not know we were doing this?" Dr. Martinez, watching a group of crystal beings trying to learn how to clap in rhythm, shook her head. "We had no idea. For thousands of years, humans have been manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe every time we hummed in the shower or sang happy birthday. And the aliens' advanced science couldn't do what a human child does naturally. Their science was too advanced," Dr. Martinez explained. "They tried to understand music through mathematics and physics. But music isn't really about math. It's about feeling. It's about the connection between consciousness and reality that exists beyond logic. A year later, humanity had become the cultural center of the galaxy. Earth was home to the new Galactic Council, which met in a building designed to have perfect acoustics. The most important decisions in galactic politics were now made while human musicians performed in the background. But perhaps the most important change was what happened to the humans themselves. Children grew up knowing that their voices could shape reality. Musicians understood that their art was literally changing the universe. Regular people realized that humming while they worked was a form of physics. President Carter, now in her third year of leading humanity through its transformation into a galactic power, often walked through the parks of Washington, D.C., and listened to street musicians. She knew that every song being played was potentially changing the quantum structure of space itself. "It's ironic," she said to Dr. Martinez during one of these walks. "The aliens were right about us being primitive. We never understood what we were doing when we made music." Dr. Martinez stopped to listen to a young man playing guitar for tips. His music was creating small ripples in space-time that made the nearby flowers bloom more brightly. "Maybe that's exactly why it worked," she replied. "We didn't try to control it or analyze it or use it for power. We just sang because singing made us feel good." As humanity settled into its new role as the galaxy's teachers and healers, one truth became clear to all. The music that had once been dismissed as primitive noise was actually the closest thing to a universal language that had ever been discovered. And in the end, the beings who had laughed at humanity's songs found themselves learning to sing along. Because in a universe where consciousness and reality were connected through quantum harmony, music wasn't just entertainment. It was the fundamental force that held everything together. The galaxy had learned to listen, and humanity had learned that sometimes the most powerful things in the universe are the ones you do without thinking, simply because they feel right.